It's time to rev your engines. The Syracuse Nationals proudly presents the Cavalcade of Cars, March 22nd through 23rd at the New York State Fairgrounds. The two-day indoor car show features all the classics, plus lifted trucks, Jeeps, motorcycles, and more. Cavalcade of Cars, CNY.com.
For just the radio, watch all your favorite ESPN Syracuse shows on QSportsTalk.com. ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. This is the Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
That it is, and the last one of the year. Brad Higgins with you. The Orange down by 20 today, and man, that was a gross game to watch. SMU 73, Syracuse 53, as the Orange basketball season mercifully hits the finish line with the record of 14 and 19. You know, as much as the team had been playing better here over the course of the last 3 weeks, whether it be second game in 2 days, SMU's good, Syracuse is bad, I don't know. They didn't have it tonight. And it was pretty much a mess to watch out there. 315-437-7644. Phone lines open. We'll hang out here for a while here. It's late. I don't know what the appetite is here. It's about to be Thursday morning. The season's over. Those shows usually take a minute. Kind of up to you guys if you're going to be hitting up the phones tonight. We'll try to get you the Syracuse postgame press conference. The ACC promised it would be places, but yesterday when they promised it would be places, they were incorrect with those promises. So we'll see what we can do for you on that. But either way, phone lines will be open. Thoughts on tonight, thoughts on the season, or a week and a half out to the transfer portal, whatever you'd like to get into tonight on the post-game show, we can certainly do that as we hang out here as the season. In many ways, the season from hell. It was not a fun season. There was not a lot that you're going to look back on fondly from this year. The Orange won consecutive games only 3 times all season. The only time all year they won 3 in a row was quite literally the first 3 games of the season. And, that's just what it was. It never got appreciably better over the course of the season, and tonight realistically was the worst they played going back to probably since JJ returned from the injury, which was 2 months to go. All right, let's get going on the phones here again. 315-437-7644. We'll start with the guy Matt in the queues. What's up, Gavino?
I am relieved. I'm happy it's over. That was ugly as it gets. I never want to see us in this state again. I want to put 44 back on the shelf, and let's not touch that for a little while. But hats off to Lampkin. I was hard on him for a while, but he became one of our best players. But I'm really excited to see half this team leave and fresh start, new faces, hit the portal, and everything's worked against us for the last 2 years, right? We had old man Jimmy B, unfortunately, he stayed a little longer than expected. NIL out of reach. Portal, can't keep up with that. We had Corona. We had so many things, and we've got a depleted team, and it's time to recharge and move forward. But I'm excited for the future. So I'm just glad that we're out of our misery.
Yeah, we could. They're not going to lose another game until November at the earliest, Matt. So we got that going for us. I think that's the hope, right? That whatever they do in the portal, the idea of Melo back in the picture with his son, whatever, something gives a little fresh look when we start talking basketball again for reals in 6-7 months.
Well, thank God for you guys keeping it fun and keeping us engaged. So kudos to you guys. Thanks a lot, Brian.
Thank you, Matty. We did our best this season, man. There was we did the same show over and over again. It feels like for the last few months, because boy howdy, what even was it that we've been dealing with this season? It never really changed that much from start to finish. And tonight felt like the poo poo platter of it was like this is your life of all the variety of things that have gone wrong at various points with Syracuse basketball this season, including JJ was injured in the middle just for a few minutes, just to remind you of all that. If only we could have gotten Donnie Freeman or Chance Westry, we could have truly had it all. All right, let's get back to the phones here. And again, the lines are open throughout our entirety tonight. 315-437-7644. We got Griffin in Oswego. What's up, Griffin?
Oh, man, I am so thankful this season over. I'm 34 years old. watching since I've been 6 years old. This is by far the worst season I've ever watched my entire life. I mean, how do you feel? The past 30 seasons, is this it? Is this the low of lows?
Of course it is. I mean, I've got you by 9 years, Griffin. But yeah, this is without question the worst season that I think many of us have seen in our lifetimes. You're going to have to be a lot older than either of us to have seen a season worse than this.
I mean, man, it's just I know Autry's coming back. So a question: do we have the NIL for next year, or do we not? Because I'm seeing conflicting reports. They're trying to get the NIL. I mean, what's the deal going forward? Do we have the money to get players? Do we not?
I'll tell you this, Griffin. We're going to find out in a week and a half. We're going to find out in 2 weeks. I don't know, because it feels like, okay, you're going to have this rev share money. Everything we're hearing is that they're going to have more money in traditional NIL than they've had, but nothing is stopping the people Syracuse is going against from doing the exact same thing. So I think the portal opens in a week and a half. When we start hearing names associated with Syracuse and who else they're going against, I think we're going to find out real quick if Syracuse has the money to go get some real players this season. I honestly don't know, Griffin. It's going to be fascinating here in the next month or so.
Yeah, I'm really hoping the savior, GM they brought in, knows what he's doing, because I don't think Autry knows what he's doing. Hopefully he proves me wrong next year. I had a great time calling in throughout the year with you guys. And let's just hope for a better year next year. But, my God, thankfully this season is over. This was bad. This is as bad as it gets. Hopefully we don't have to live through this ever again.
That is the hope, Griffin. And thanks, as always, for the phone call. Griffin up in Oswego. Sounds like SMU first to the podium, so Syracuse will be second in line for that and the post-game press conference. So let's get one more call in right now. We will head out to Utica, where we got James with us. What's up, James?
Hey, what's going on? I think the number one thing I keep thinking about right now is we didn't even get the taste of a peak this year. There's no upset win. I was just looking at the schedule. I think our best win was 16-15 Georgia Tech. Is that right? Is that what you think it is too? I
mean, it's was there even a best win? It's that or Virginia to end the season, Florida State the other day. Yeah, no, there wasn't anything. There wasn't anything that you're going to look back on realistically ever and be like, yes, I remember that game fondly. There wasn't one of those moments this year.
Absolutely. I mean, even last year, right? I know it wasn't the best year last year, but I remember the Copeland game winner.
Yeah.
There were a few moments, and this year I'm looking back and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to remember a single moment in 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, last year, Judah had moments. Quadir hit that shot against Miami. Chris Bell had that crazy half against NC State. There are moments. It wasn't a great year, but there are moments. This year, man, I got nothing. I got nothing that you're going to look back on and be like, oh, yeah, that was the game. Lampkin got a lot of rebounds. I don't know. There's not a standout moment that I think is going to resonate anytime past next week going forward.
No, I think to me, if I was to pick one memory I'll have is Donnie Freeman squaring up in the middle of a basketball game 2 months ago. Not a basketball moment, just that's the image that sticks in my mind moving forward.
Oh man, that is telling, is it not, James? That's the moment of the year, and you're probably right. All things considered, if there's something from this last year, yeah, it's weird because you can go through Cuse fans, you can do it. You go back through the years, you'll remember something from most of the years, even the years that were bad and missed the tournament. You'll remember something. This year, the memories will not be from oh yes, this was the game that it clicked, and at least they had that. This team didn't even get it, and at least they had that moment this year, unfortunately.
No, absolutely, and I know everybody's saying it. I'm hopeful. I'm not holding my breath, though, that next year I'm hopeful it's moving in the right direction. We start having some of those moments. We are playing competitive games in March, whatever that may mean. But I'm hoping it's moving in the right direction come next season.
That is the hope, James. Thank you for the call. James out in Utica. All right, phone lines open, 315-437-7644. We're getting a quick break in now. Keep the calls coming. We hope to have Red and players at the podium when we come back as well. We'll step aside for a few on our Burdick post-game coverage. Much more to come. We're hanging out in the chat on Q Sports Talk, Twitch, and the YouTube. We'll be here, as long as you feel like being here tonight. Well, but not more than an hour. But keep your feelings to an hour. But we'll be here. We'll be here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. All right. Like, what is the game? Like, the BC triple overtime win? Like, what? Yeah. What's the moment? I don't think it's about Alex being special the ways. It's that they had nobody doing that job last year. It's like just having somebody to... Alphabet guy. Don't make me ban you, Alphabet guy. There you go, Mike. I remember the 3 overtime game because I was just trying to host a freaking postgame show and it would never start. Go Crunch. How much NIL you giving him, Mike? An identity would be good, Mitch Match. And like an actual billionaire. Yeah, Rutgers got 2 lottery picks probably on their team, and they lost in the 11-14 game. Well, I hope it's Klein, LA Orange, because I know this. Patino's not going to be here. All right. What if we miss out again next year? Then they'll lose a lot of games and everyone will get fired. Like, that's what will happen. Oh, they're live. How much do I got left here?
Job in the second half defensively of making us work. They made it tough for us. I thought that was the difference in the game. We couldn't really get the ball inside to Eddie like we usually do. He's a big part of what we do, and when we can't get the ball into him,
all right. No waiting around. Let's get to the post-game press conference.
I thought the offense today, giving the credit to SMU's defense, was a difference in the game. They were physical. They pushed us out. They made our catches hard. They pressured us, and we didn't handle the pressure as well as we needed to do. And I thought that was a difference.
Question first for the players.
Just for Eddie, you only had 2 shots, and obviously they were doing a lot during the game, doubling and making sure they got the ball out of your hands. But when you're in the game, does it feel like, when you're taking less shots that you got to, try to force the issue, or are you just trying to play in the flow of the game?
Really, I'll just say I was trying to play the flow of the game. I never want to force anything. I try to read what they give me, and they was just everywhere. They were sending 3 people at me. Been like that the whole season, so I'll just say it's just another game.
This one's for Jaquan. Just in terms of the offense in the second half, what did SMU do that made it tough for you guys?
I think, like Coach said, they put real good pressure on the ball. It was real hard for us to get it inside. It kind of disrupted our offense with being their defense being tougher than our offense. So we just ain't handled the pressure well.
To our right.
Mike Waters, Syracuse Post-Standard. For both guys, this is your only season at Syracuse, and tonight was your last game. I was wondering if you could kind of sum up your Syracuse experiences.
Eddie?
I say it's a blessing to come here. It's an amazing school, amazing program. We got a good coach, but we got amazing teammates, and I just say it was a blessing. I wouldn't want to be nowhere else. We didn't play our best during the season, but these are my brothers I remember for the rest of my life. We got good relationships, and that's all you can ask for, and it's Syracuse, so I loved it.
Definitely I feel like we didn't play the way we wanted, but if I could do it all again, I wouldn't choose nowhere else, Coach Ray, we wanted to do it all for him. We know all of the pressure we've been handling all season. We've been doubted all year. So, I just think this really brought us together as a family, and we showed the brotherhood. Nobody really turned on each other, pointing fingers. We all tried to stick together and get it done. So, the experience being here, just watching Syracuse growing up is always a dream. And, just being a part of it and just saying that I could did it and play with this name across my chest was something very big, and I just tried out to go my hardest every time.
Any other questions for the 2 players? Okay, guys, thanks. You can head back to the locker room. Okay, questions for Coach? Front row here.
Coach, specifically, what's the hardest part about addressing the team in the locker room after the season?
When the season's over with, these are all young men, and you try to, it's emotional. These guys, the coaching staff, a season is over with. That's what you work for. You work all summer and you get ready for the season, and when it's finally over with, it's an emotional thing. But these guys, it was hard for these guys because it was just a long year, and every year is long. But obviously, there was a lot of noise surrounding these guys, and again, we spent a lot of time together, and just trying to keep these guys with their head up, and that's why this ending like this is really hard for me and for this team.
Mike Waters, Syracuse Post-Standard. Red, when you were talking about, keeping their heads up throughout this difficult season, was that made even tougher given that you had so many one-year transfers, guys who were had just gotten here and were going to be here only the one season?
I'm sure it was for those guys, as you go through the process of, recruiting and, selling your school and selling your program and selling your, everything about the, your program, the fans, the community and all that stuff. When you have you get excited, and when you have a season the way we had, it's hard. It's hard. These guys, they work, JC, he worked his way up to this level, so for his first year to be at this level, and Eddie's, he's been a Power 5 guy for a while, but, he wanted to come somewhere and step into a new role. So it's hard, for those guys. I'm sure it was, but it was challenging. It was exciting for those guys, and they really attacked it the right way. They really did. I think a couple of guys went through some ups and downs, but for the most part, most of the guys that transferred in, they really kind of were more mature than most people.
Yeah, Adrian, I'm curious, did you think you had maybe a different kind of team before the season started, and how did you sort of sort through who you actually had and how you were going to use those guys?
I don't, I think everyone thinks when you're in the summer, what kind of team you may have, but you really don't know until you kind of get into it. And I think that going into this season, did we think we had some things that we could shore up? Yeah, but I think the biggest thing that was disruptive for us was is that, not being able to play with JJ and Donnie for extended periods of time. And I thought that was really kind of that kind of threw us off a little bit, and the role and everything kind of dynamics kind of changed. Different people had to step into different roles and step up, and I'm not sure if they were kind of ready for that at that time, but we had to adjust. And I think every coach could tell you, that you think you have something until you start the season, and once the season gets rolling, you got to make adjustments and try to address whatever it is to make the changes you can as the season goes along.
Yeah, Aiden Stepanski from the Daily Orange. Coach, can you try to describe, I guess, Eddie and JC, Jair, all kind of the senior leadership, how they kept this team together even through those, tough times throughout this year?
Just the way they attack practice, the way they were with the team, always encouraging. They had a lot of experience. You could tell that. They never came in heads down. They were always upbeat. They never, they did everything we asked them to do and more. So it was, I thought their senior leadership was huge. Again, the way they handled it, I was impressed. I was very impressed. They really, they really came in every day to work, and just watching them interact with their teammates, constantly uplifting them, smiling, talking to them, that was pretty, I thought that was the reason why we were able to, you talk to all of these guys, and obviously, you talk about the record is the record, but through their experience and through what we did this year, staying together, I think, that was very impactful, and those guys had a lot to do with it.
We'll stay in the front row.
Zach Wolf with the Daily Orange. Coach, in terms of year two, what was the most difficult part for year two for you as a coach as opposed to year one?
I think the difficult part was trying to get these guys to compete, and not to say to compete, but to try to win games and try to figure the team out. And really dealing with injuries. It was the first year. I dealt with one injury last year when I first took over this year. Dealing with multiple injuries and dealing with multiple guys that were kind of being asked to be in new roles, trying to figure that out with these guys and with the team. But I'm sure it's more things as this season is over with and I start to reflect. But those are the couple of things that kind of come to mind when you ask me that question.
Mike Waters, Syracuse Post-Standard. Adrian, coming into the season, did you ever expect to have to put so much offensively on JJ? And like even tonight, he didn't look right physically part of the night. It looked like he was getting treatment, and yet he plays more minutes than anybody else, and he leads you in scoring.
I think, when you started the season, what we had, we thought, obviously JJ would be, a big part of it, but, his usage was a little bit more than what we would have wanted. But, I think he was prepared for that, all summer long. I thought we would be able to do a little bit more around. I think we did at times. It just wasn't consistent. I think the biggest thing when you talk about this year's team is the consistency piece. I think that was really kind of trying to get everybody to be consistent at one time.
Yeah, Adrian, you're an SU alum. You played there, you coached for a while, and now you're the head coach. How emotionally difficult was this for you this year to have a year where you had such a struggle to win games?
I'm not even. I can't answer that question because, obviously disappointment. I think when any coach is disappointed, but like you said, an alum and played there, coached here and did a lot of things. It was a little disappointing, to be honest with you, going through some tough times. I just think, I'll learn a lot from that. I have learned a lot from that. I'll just leave it at that. It was disappointing, to be honest with you. And not to say that you got to be happy, whatever, but I just think it was, as an alum, you're disappointed in yourself that you can't get your, team to play well, as a coach and all that stuff. But, the way the team was covered was a little disappointing. And that obviously is struggling, but I thought a little bit, some of it was a little bit too much.
Back left.
Coach, I know you said you still need time to reflect on this season that just ended, but what is maybe a takeaway that you learned in your second year as a head coach that you can take into year 3, and something that you learned throughout the course of this season that you can use to your advantage now that you had to deal with, different kinds of hardship?
It's a really good question. I'm not sure if I can really answer that right now. As of right now, I'm sure I'll be able to answer that question in depth, because that's a layered question, and it's a lot of things that I could say and a lot of things that I know that I've learned. But to be able to kind of talk about it right now is, I wouldn't be able to give you a really good answer.
All the disappointments aside, out of all of the players coming back next season, what are some things of growth that you've seen from them, and how can you build on that heading into next season?
I'm not, the way that everything is right now, you don't know who is coming back, right? That's just an honest question. That's an honest answer, rather. But the guys that have eligibility, I thought all those guys, they played, they got better. But that's a question that we have to wait and see.
Any other questions for Coach?
Hi, I'm Teddy Caputo with Newhouse Sports Media Center. So, as we've discussed, the loss is a lot to process at the moment, but Syracuse has a loyal fan base that sticks with the team through the highs and the lows of this season and just throughout the program's history. What is the message that you'd like to give to the fan base as you look ahead to next season?
I can answer that question at another time. Right now, I just choose not to answer that question.
Okay, is that it? Okay, thanks, Coach.
Clearly emotional Red Autry there. That you can see him on the edge of it a few times. It was tears were getting ready to come forth after what has had to have been an extremely rough season. So opting to kind of steer clear, it would feel like, of the questions that would push him over the edge in that, as is his right. But not that you want to see a guy break down, but it would have been, I think, interesting for a lot of people out there that claim he doesn't care. Like, come on now. But yeah, that was an interesting post-game press conference there. The question that was asked about what's he going to do with people coming back next year, he almost started laughing. Yeah, thus is the era of the portal. Next year starts now with trying to figure out who the hell's going to be on the team next year. I mean, there's zero time off for that to try to figure it out. Phone lines open, 315-437-7644. Our guy Vito in Liverpool's been waiting patiently through Red's presser. What's up, Vito?
Yeah, that last response is kind of, I'm going to focus on that a little bit. That was a little disappointing. I know he's emotional, Brian, but to not have a response to that last question, to send a message to the fans, I mean, at minimum, he could have said, I'm going to, put my heart and soul into it, and we're going to figure out what was wrong this year and try to fix it. We got a great recruiting class coming in. We're going to look at the portal and try to get our A options instead of, missing out on recruits like we did. I mean, he could have tried to reassure the fans in some way, but to say I'm not going to answer that's ridiculous. And as far as the game, man, all right, so same song and dance all year. I mean, whether or not they're close at half or they're leading big, it's always a second half collapse where they got to hold on. The games that they won, they had to hold on. The games that they lost, several of them, the teams came back and beat them. And you know, you look back at the games like Miami, a 2-11 at the time ACC team. My point is these coaches are out coaching him. I don't feel like he is ahead. I don't want to make this. Let me just say this. I don't want to make this a red bashing thing, but it has to be at this point. You know, I mean, these coaches are out coaching him. I feel like he's a position coach at this level. He's not a head coach at this level. He doesn't have enough experience, and they put him at that spot without having enough experience. I think GMAC, where he is now at Siena, 3 to 5 years there, then he's probably, you know, where he can coach a Power 4 school. But Autry was not ready yet. In terms of the game, dude, these guys are passing the ball way too much on offense. I don't know what kind of open shot they're looking for. This was a much bigger team. Why are you looking to go inside to score against them? You're not going to find anything open. Carlos is going in the paint out of control with no purpose. Bell's getting the ball on the wing, and he's trying to drive in on the baseline. Nothing's there, and he's erratically throwing the ball away. It's just a complete mess of a team that's not coached well. I see Sterling getting open looks at three, passing up on it, trying to go inside, shoots a highly difficult shot all the time. It boils down to my main point. The team is just not coached well. And when you look at the box score, it's mind blowing. Lampkin's 1 for 2 shots from him. Really? I know he's playing a bigger team, but.
I mean, he was being guarded by a Turkish giant most of the game. Like Eddie looked tiny out there. Like he couldn't do anything against that guy. Same thing happened a week ago. Eddie had nothing for him. He wasn't big enough to deal with him, or athletic enough.
I mean, Jair probably saved the team from, being blown out by, it was 31-28 at the half. And what did they score? What was it, like 50-23 or something like that in the second half? Just absolutely insane. I don't know, man. We have to see. Like I said, I equate this to like a race car driver. He's not a good race car driver. You give him a new car, and he's still crashing on turn 3. You're going to give Autry new players, but he is what he is as a coach. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. So it's another year that we know we're not going to be a successful team. That's my prediction, man. I think he's that bad of a coach.
Well, we'll see. I mean, where I get hung up on it is, has Red been great? This is not me saying Red's the best coach of all time, but I still go back to last year when he did have better players, and it felt like he had a better handle of it. This year, the roster did not allow for almost any correct coaching answers to be made throughout the year. So the hope is, like, if you're going to try to find a way where it works for Red, and I'm not saying it's going to, but if you're going to try to find a way where it's going to work, you go into the portal, you keep Donnie, you keep JJ, you keep some of these guys, you go into the portal, you find a legitimate, like, point guard, you find a legitimate rim protector and put together a reasonable roster, and then maybe you talk, because I agree with you, Vito, he's learning on the job, and you're learning on the job after Jim Boeheim. Like, it's a really tough spot to be in. It's not gone well. We'll see next year if he's learned anything. That's what we'll find out. We'll see if he can make a step next year.
Let me say, do we got a little more time there, like another minute or so?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me say this about the portal. The portal is a complete mess, and I'll tell you why. Because the teams are managing all the money. There's no equivalent to a salary cap.
Nope.
There's no rhyme or reason to that. So what I would propose is the NCAA. See, they're all about money. They don't want to lose money. You can't leave this in the team's hands. Like, you remember how Kentucky and Duke, they did their shady dealings with recruits, and they would give them bags of money, and they would sway them to come there with money. It's the same thing going on right now. So if you have big market teams that have huge sponsorships from car dealerships and stuff, those teams are going to have a huge advantage over teams like Syracuse in a small market. So what I would propose is the NCAA should manage a pool of money, and there should be a cap for each team, maybe $1 million or $2 million, something like that, because we see players getting $1 million, which is absolutely ridiculous. Even $2 million. I think Baycock got $1 million, and I think another guard on North Carolina got some ridiculous amount.
But that's all I'm saying. I think that they need to manage a pool of money. They got plenty of money. It's $1 billion industry, and tell each team this is how much you get. $1 million. Maybe it's a little less for mid majors, but I don't know. I'll hang up. You tell me what you think. But I think ultimately leaving this like open-ended management of money for each team gives the blue bloods and the bigger market teams an unfair advantage. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Vito, thanks as always. And I'll say this, like the idea of a salary cap and all that, it's great and all, because we all watch pro sports. The NFL's got it. We're seeing the salary cap. The free agency's going on right now. Billions of dollars are going around. They're professional athletes in a collectively bargained sport. If the NCAA announced that tomorrow, the lawsuit would be in before they submitted it, and they would lose so hard and so fast, it's not even funny. Like, does there need to be stuff done? Yeah. But the steps between here and there ain't just going there, because they would lose so fast in court, it would make your head spin on something like that. Ideally, sure, but it's just like that ain't happening, and it ain't happening anytime soon. All right, let's get another call in before the break. We got Scooter here. What's up, Scoot?
Brian, at least if you want to keep staying awake, you got the Montana and Northern Colorado championship game out of the Big Sky.
Okay, what channel's that on? I gotta figure out my.
I think it's on actually ESPN. I forgot what I was watching, because I was watching ESPN New on the Q's, and I think it's on ESPN 2 right now.
Okay,
they're at halftime right now. It's Montana's at Northern Colorado. So in case you didn't have enough basketball, and I wonder what your over under was actually for this year of actually having shows after midnight.
We hit the over, whatever it is. I know that's good. We've gone late night more than I can ever recall. That's for darn certain.
Let me ask you a question. I'm talking over. I'm not just talking Syracuse. And of course, the last couple of weeks I've watched a lot of games. What do you think of the product of college basketball is?
Oh, it's not very good right now. I mean, compared to whatever you want to remember, be it, the 90, I mean, whatever previous era you want to go to, that era was probably better basketball than what we're seeing right now, and there's no continuity. Like, my main issue with the portal is, and I get it, I understand why there's freedom, you turn on these games and I don't know who anybody is or what team they're on or where they came from, and there's nothing from year to year which connects it. So, yeah, the product compared to what it has been, it's the worst I can ever recall.
But it's not going to get better, though. As basketball is today, it can't get better, because what we know today is going to be totally different next year.
Yep.
And to me, like you said, it's continuity. I mean, I'm seeing people look like they never practiced with each other. I mean, I've seen 4-on-1 fast breaks where they don't score because they just don't look like they even know. They haven't seen their, just not knowing it. I mean, you always hear about someone that's played for somebody for 3 or 4 years. And the guys, I threw it there because I knew he was going to be there because he's been there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see that anymore. Everything is, and that's the problem. I mean, the dome, they're all talking about this one of the lowest attendance. Well, some people might just be fed up with the product of basketball and say it's not worth the $30 of the park. And it's not just Syracuse losing 19. It's what happened. I mean, tonight's game. I mean, if you told me that you're going to hold basically SMU to, let's face it, it was garbage time at the end and there's some foul, but they basically held them to 7 points or less. And you thought you're going to be in the game because SMU scores in the 80s. And
oh yeah, no. If you
Syracuse scored in 53.
Yeah, if you told me that, I mean, this is actually when I predicted the score earlier. I had SMU with 72. I just had Syracuse with a lot more than they ended up with. So I'm like that. I had SMU in exactly the range they needed to be in for Syracuse to have a shot in this game if their offense had done anything whatsoever.
Well, that was it. It was a lot of chucking and ducking, and I don't know. It just, to me, the overall product itself, and I just don't see it getting better. And with so many outlets now and doing other things, it's disappointing because I'm a big college fan. But to be honest with you, I don't see too much difference now than the NBA right now.
I'd say
this is like.
Go ahead, Scoop.
No. This is like the NBA in April. I mean, they look like they never seen each other, and now we're talking. This is March. I mean, you should feel like you know your opponents or know your teammates, but it's just like senior day. Well, do you really get excited that someone's only been here for 7 months? I mean, I don't know.
My hope is, whenever this, I mean, Vito was talking about, can there be a salary cap? The thing I would like, if we're putting our wishes in, like they're going to get paid, whatever. Can there be a multi-year contract instead of it just being a year-to-year? Because it is a contract these days. If you could sign these players to a multi-year contract, okay, then I think that at least helps out a little bit in that, because the quality is whatever. People watch college sports not because they're looking for the best quality. Like if you're looking for better quality, you watch professionals. You watch college sports because you like your team and continuity, and you watch these players grow up in the whole thing. That's what I'd like to see come back. However we can get to there, multi-year contracts, whatever it needs to be. The quality's not going to be the NBA. They're not LeBron. That's fine, but I'd at least like to watch the same guys a few years in a row.
But basically, it's the same playing field from a level. Like when Syracuse plays a bad team from to start the season, it's a mismatch. But normally, if you got teams on the same plane, it isn't NBA quality, but at least it's fun to see them play each other. I don't know. It's just, to me, I hate it because I'm hoping there's really no options. And the next thing I'd be interested to see if somebody, now that since you might be an employee of the college, why do we have a 4-year eligibility? I mean, why? I mean, somebody going to now sue to say, as long as I'm in school, I should be eligible? I mean, who came up with a 4-year or 5-year policy to start with? Because most people graduate in 4 or 5 years. Well,
right.
You don't have to, I guess, now, right?
Well, yeah. And again, I think, Scooter, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever it is, like I don't have the foggiest clue what's going to happen, but there's going to be a point here that whatever we got now is going to be unrecognizable when it comes to stuff like that, the money, contracts, any of this. It's not going to look anything at all like we have today. And hopefully at some point, some of these changes will make the experience for us as fans and observers better. But that has not been what's happened as of yet.
Well, I'm watching two teams that know that one's going home and one isn't, and that's what I like about these smaller conferences because, I mean, watching the Southeast Conference, why? It's 13 teams going, big deal. And so to me, that's why I enjoyed conference week more than maybe the tournament. And I tell you right now, Cinderella is out as long as these smaller teams are, people are going to be poaching good players. I mean, we poached a guy from Delaware. Delaware's in the finals. Hofstra, of course, we had a Hofstra guard. So I don't know Cinderella is there anymore. And I know Syracuse considered Cinderella when they were 10 seed and went to the tournament, but they were Power 5. So I just don't know what the tournament's going to look like too.
Well, the first weekend's now a recruiting opportunity because if you get that Cinderella run, you hop in the portal and you move on and make your money. All right, Scoot, thanks as always for the call. But I mean, Scooter brings up a lot of big picture points that we'll talk about for sure coming up. But that's what stinks about it. This is nothing against Jaquan Carlos or Jair Davis or Eddie Lampkin or those guys, but like they did not play a significant part in our life. They're here 4 months, they're gone, and that's it. It's nothing against them. That's just the way the system is right now. It's a lot more fun when you know guys, and guys get better and the whole thing. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Where we're going right now is to break. If you'd like to chime in, you can. Our final post-game show of the season is going on right now. 315-437-7644. We're burning the midnight oil here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. I'd probably have to, Weeze. Yeah, let's get Elon on it. We are, Zach. We better be, anyway. Thank you, Super Cat. I am fantastic. I agree with all of you. I'm great. Well, next year, fella Ferda, it won't be an excuse. Like, it'll be the end. Like, at some point, there's an end of the road. To like Vito's point before about you hired a guy without experience, they did hire a guy without experience. It's ridiculous to hire a guy without experience and then not let him gain some experience. Like, do it for a few years. Like, it's baked in. Oh, man. I'm excited for your more sources and new account, Q Sports Nor. It thrills me to no end to know. What was Vito's? I didn't even. Yeah, like Vito's ideas about salary caps and whatnot. Like, yeah, it's the shortest lawsuit ever. It has to be collectively bargained. They'd have to become employees. There's a lot of steps that are out there that pro leagues have done. But pro leagues are way smaller organizations than the NCAA, which is a bunch of schools that are not really alike. Oh, what did Vito say? Jordan's retyped it for me. Players shouldn't be able to get an increase in NIL at their new school, so you can't get a raise. That's part of my idea of a contract. If you sign a 1-year contract and then you outperform it, go get a raise. If you sign a 2-year contract and you outperform it, well, you're under contract. Yeah, like you can't just limit people's earnings just because you feel like it. It's not how things work. Yeah, it's not been good, Laker. It's not been good. Well, yeah, leaving for the draft is different. They've already done that, LA Orange. I don't think he was unprofessional. I thought he was very emotional, and he did not want to break down in front of everybody. Think of that what you want. He was clearly on the edge of, like, bursting into tears. Yeah, I mean, that was T-ball, LA Orange. I appreciate it. And, yeah, Red's problem in those press conferences is he's not, when he's trying to hold that stuff in, he's not good at explaining why. So he just completely shut it down. So it came off as very brusque and, yeah, unprofessional. But if you watched it and saw what was leading to it, he clearly did not want to spill all the emotion of the season out right then. I did enjoy him chuckling about how he was going to work with the players for next year. He's like, how the hell do I know he's going to be here next year? All right, back at it here. Phone lines available if you'd like to join. 315-437-7644. Who's awake? Chat's still humming. What time is it? 12:42 on a Thursday morning. Does daylight savings time apply when it's pitch black out in the middle of night? How does that work? Well, this is our last post-game show of the year. All right, for all of you still with us at 12:42, God bless you for one. We love you all. Thank you for being with us, even the people saying the most insane things. We like you too. Ratings are ratings. But no shows tomorrow. And it's not because we're ducking you because it's the end of the season. or because we're tired, because it's 12:42 in the morning. It is because we are bringing you a full day of coverage from the ACC tournament that Syracuse is not participating in. Wall-to-wall ESPN radio coverage from Charlotte to tomorrow, starting, I don't know when the pregame starts, 11:30. The games start at noon, but all 4 games will be aired in their entirety here on ESPN Radio tomorrow. So none of our shows on the air, but we will be back Friday, full lineup. Well, no Newhouse. They're on spring break. A full enough lineup. Our lineup will be full-ish on Friday. I'll be here. Orange Nation will be here. We'll figure out the rest of it on Friday, and we'll do that to break down the end of the season, set the table for the portal, and all of that stuff. So we have not run. We have not run and hidden in a cave tomorrow. We are not ignoring or avoiding you. At least we have come up with a very compelling excuse for that. So, yeah, we are, but it's a fantastic excuse. It's the best excuse we could come up with. All right, what do we got? A call coming in? We'll let that get situated here. But, yeah, so no shows tomorrow due to full-day coverage from ESPN Radio down at the ACC tournament. I believe friend of all of our shows, Wes Durham, is calling some of the games. I don't know which one, so tune in and hear Wes. We like... We like Wes. All right, who do we got here? This says we have Cardiac Cuse in the chat. What's up, Cardiac Cuse in the chat?
Hey, I'd like to address some unrealistic Syracuse fans, and I'd like to just make the point to this. When Mike Krzyzewski left West Point, he went to Duke, had a 17-13 record. Okay? Mm-hmm. He goes his second year, 10-17. 4-10 in the ACC. 82-83 following year, 11-17, 3-11. Now, where we are with Adrian right now with Syracuse, okay, and their record, we're calling for his head after his second year. Now, he had a better record his first season than Krzyzewski did. He had actually had a better record than Krzyzewski his second year. And if Adrian doesn't perform next year, are we giving him an honest shot at being a great head coach? Because the following year, 83-84, Mike Krzyzewski goes 24-10 and goes to the NCAA tournament, and from that moment on becomes the greatest coach of all time. So I think we need to give this guy a little bit of room to learn how to be a head coach. And just like he said in his press conference today, I'm learning how to be a head coach. And if all the fans are really asking for Syracuse to fire an alumnus, a former point guard, and now head coach of Syracuse after 2 years, we're in a sad state of affairs. But, Brian, thank you for everything this year. Awesome show. Glad I could be a part of it. Listen, next year's a new year, and, I'm excited just like everybody else is. These kids were extremely, extremely hard to watch this year, but you know what? We stayed tuned in and we watched them because they were giving it their best shot. So, salute. Thank you, Brian. Good show. Go Cuse.
All right, thank you. Cardiac Cuse in the chat. And, hey, forget what this team did. All of us together, we survived this 33 games. We've made it to the finish line. We made it from a 4-point win at Lemoyne all the way to a 20-point loss to SMU. We made it. Oh, we made it, people. I don't know if we came out of it better, but we all made it to the end of the season. And yeah, again, is Red going to be Coach K? No, but it is possible for people to get better at their job. It is possible for people to get better at their job. Will Red be better next year? I don't know. Was Red the only problem this year? A lot of people seem to think the answer was yes. No. Is Red in charge of building the roster? He's the head coach. Yes. But I think a lot of the complaints about Red this year, it was, and I said this, I don't know when, I said this probably a month or two ago, and it hasn't changed. It feels like this year people are coming up with new problems that Red has created every game. I don't see it as a new problem every game. I just think that the same problems essentially happen 33 times. And they all stem from You messed up making the roster last year, and messing up making the roster has led to a majority of the problems that happened this year. Is that Red's domain? Absolutely. But to crucify him 33 times over for it, it's just like it's something. It's something. That said, if he makes the same mistake again next year, and the same results happen next year, the sporting world, to the last point, is a lot less patient than it was when Coach K was doing that. That was 40 years ago. Nobody's as patient in anything these days. So you just don't get that long. I don't know if it's an ultimatum year actually from on high. There's financials. There's a lot of stuff. That said, it feels an awful lot like an ultimatum year next year for the program. I don't know what the ultimatum is, but John Wildack said meaningful games in March. Again, that means whatever you want it to mean. But a meaningful game in March is not losing the second round of the ACC tournament to SMU to finish 14-19. We'll see. All right, we'll take a break. Last calls. Get your last words in on the season for today. We'll keep talking about it. But, yeah, it's the final postgame show of the year. Whatever will we do? Our next postgame show doesn't come until August when Syracuse plays Tennessee in football, and we'll be yelling about Fran Brown. We'll probably be firing Fran Brown in our next postgame show. Get ready for that. Back after this, put the final wraps on it. 315-437-7644 if you'd like to get the last word in here next here on Q Sports Talk at ESPN Radio. Yeah, but we're gonna mix in some Fran Brown into that. We got to transition LAR. He's cardiac Hughes in the chat. So he said. The script was a delight, Spatch and Louise. I love it. Good night, Q Sports Knower. See you again next year with new exciting inside information and a new screen name. I should be charging hourly for you guys, Waka Waka. You'll just have to go and find out, LA Orange. Where will Griff be? Jordan and I were joking earlier that Griff should give out his tee time and then and what course he's at. You can see if you can time it out and track him down on he teed off at 106. I'm getting there around 2. Maybe he's on 7. Spring practice starts next week. Vito. Pro Day is Monday. Hey, let's text that McCord fellow. Look, it's Jordan.
What are your thoughts on it?
What are my thoughts?
What are your thoughts on it? I already mentioned it. I went back and I've listened to the question now multiple times.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see if the response was valid.
Mm-hmm.
And the question from Donna, slightly paraphrasing, but pretty close. As an alum, as a former player, as the head coach, how emotionally difficult is it to have a season where you struggle to find wins?
Yep. That was the gist, I think.
It felt weird that was the opportunity he took to complain about how the team was covered. Am I crazy to think that?
It was a weird turn in the middle there. That was a weird turn.
Kind of can see where he's going with it. He made it more difficult. And as you said earlier, he clearly is very bothered by this and doesn't always connect the dots in an articulate fashion when he's feeling emotional.
He doesn't MF the people directly like Boeheim.
But it felt incredibly odd for it.
It was a really weird turn. It looked like he was going to burst into tears, and then he was complaining about the coverage of the team.
Is it only it was when you go from like sad to mad to block the sad, that sort of thing?
I think he just took he's like, I don't want to put this emotion out there, so we got to find we found a different one.
That just was so weird to me. Like I had to post that clip because I know the reaction it's going to get, but like you were just asked how it feels to be losing games, and you're just, kind of disappointed how we recovered. Like, come on, man. Like, and then, I love our Newhouse afternoon staff, but we had a little tailspin at the end of that presser.
They basically kind of went in with the same question with different words that he was already like, I don't want to talk about this. Who comes back? That's a great question, Waka Waka. Donnie, Cuff, Bell, JJ, Choppa? I don't know.
I think Kyle will be back.
Kyle McCord? Is it too late?
The chips! Can you imagine just Kyle Cuff randomly has chips next year? Kyle. Kyle's chips.
What flavor? I'd jam with some Kyle Cuff chips.
Mist dunk.
Yeah.
Explosive.
Do they taste good? You just open the bag and just... oh, man! Another bag of Kyle Cuff chips exploded on the floor.
Every time.
The Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
Okay. The season is over. The end. I don't know. We have spilled a lot of words on the same thing over and over again. I said at the beginning of the show today, Jordan and I are watching the game, and it felt like a this is your life Syracuse basketball season as the game's gone. It's like, oh, remember when they got off to slow starts? I remember when they got off to slow starts. Oh, remember when JJ was hurt? I remember when JJ was hurt. Oh, remember when they couldn't shoot? I remember when they couldn't shoot. It's like they picked various points of the game to do all of the things that they did wrong at various times of the year. And a fitting end, I suppose, to what was, there's no sugarcoating it. For many of us, this was the worst season of Syracuse basketball in our lifetime. And honestly, the seasons that were worse than this, you got to go back so far. This was the worst season of Syracuse basketball that existed in an era that covered sports anything remotely in the way we're doing it now. This is the worst. This is the worst era of Syracuse basketball that existed in something other than black and white. I mean, that's what we had here this season. It was a terrible season. The one caller that asked earlier, like, what are we going to remember about this season? Like, what good moment was there? Yeah, there wasn't one. This was a Syracuse basketball season that doesn't even have, like, a win, a moment, a shot, a something to hang on to. So, we turn the page. It is the 13th of March right now because it's now Thursday. The transfer portal opens in 11 days. The transfer portal opens in 11 days. People's names are already being put out there. Nobody can be officially in as of yet, but it's being out there. And, we'll see where it goes. All right, let's get one more call in before we wrap it up tonight. We got our guy George down in Memphis. What's up, George?
Hey, Brian, first of all, I've enjoyed all the work you've done all year. And as you know from a computer or whatever, sometimes you have to hit the reset button. And this is a reset button moment for the program. Since 1968, two losing seasons. We've got a great tradition and a great history here, and I think we're just going to have to look forward to what the new team next year looks like. As Coach K said one time when they lost to North Carolina early in his career, and the coaches said, here's to forgetting about this. And Coach K stopped him and he said, no, here's to never forgetting about this. And we can't forget about this. This is not should not ever be what we see from November to late March. That's allowed once in a while, once in a blue moon, and that was this year. Thoughts on that?
I totally agree, George. Like, this was terrible. I think back, and again, I think back to the 2002 season, which, was clearly, any season was better than this. That was, the Shumpert, Deshaun Williams season. Everything turned into a grease fire. They fell apart at the end. They missed the tournament. And then, for no good reason, they went on a run to the NIT Final Four, then lost both games there. And that offseason was very much a reset button. Now, they reset it with Carmelo Anthony. That's not happening this time, though Melo's kid will be here. And it just cleansed the palate of everything. And obviously it turned into what it turned into. But even in November of the next year, it felt cleansed. The hope is now, roster turnover, whatever it is, the hope is by the time we next see them on the court, it just feels cleansed. And then hopefully they're good enough. Well, time will tell, but it's such a different era now. It's such a different way to go about it. But hopefully this is a cleansing offseason that brings us a little positivity by the time they're next on the court.
And when they open up next November, I'm going to cleanse mentally the view of red and start anew and expect with different roster. And looking back what he learned, I'm expecting to see improvement from the program and from him. And I think I'm eager to see where they take it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you, George. And I think we know this. If there is no improvement next year, then the program will be as cleansed as it can get, because then they got to start over. Then they got to completely hit the reset button and start over. And I know a lot of people want that right now, but it would be better if we didn't have to do that, if it just worked. I don't know what's going to happen, but it would be better if it just freaking worked. Hopefully, Cayenne's not dad. Like Melo, that's one of one. Hopefully some good juju rubs off of the idea of an Anthony being back around here. But that is another day's tale to tell. With that, it's 1 o'clock in the freaking morning. Go to bed, you crazy animals. The season is over. The final score, who cares? The Orange lost by 20 to SMU. 14-19. Our long national nightmare has come to an end tonight down in Charlotte. All right, again, no shows tomorrow. Full coverage of the teams that actually are still left in the ACC tournament tomorrow. All 4 games will be available on ESPN Radio. Here, we'll be back with our shows on Friday. So I'll talk to you 4 o'clock Friday right here, Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
The 315 with Brian Higgins.
How often are you going to have, like Mike Bray, 20-plus years in Notre Dame, Leonard Hamilton, 20-plus years, Florida State, Roy Williams, he basically